In this series, I'm going to be building a model railway out of as many spare parts as I can for as little money as I can. Let's see how I get on.
Hello and welcome back to Rule 1 Railways. My name is Nathan and today you join me in the attic. So today we are starting a rather exciting project, a short project, but an exciting one nonetheless. Here in my parents' attic, I've painted a wall. So this is a little project I've been wanting to do for quite a while now, but I've never really had the opportunity to do so. But that changes today. We are doing our first video project model railway layout build. That's right, our first. Spoilers, there will be more, probably. So our first one is quite simple. I'll throw some plans on the screen for you now. There will be a single line. There will be a single cottage, a single road, and not much else. So we're going to be making a simple, automatic, shuttle-controlled railway layout. Not the same shuttle that recently went to space. A different kind of shuttle. I have the little shuttle control thing up here somewhere. If I find it, I'll show you. But for now, we need to get on with the baseboards, which I've already built. Sorry. Okay, here we go. We are in handheld camera mode. That box will be going on a shelf up there at some point. Ignore the horrible paint job on that wall. I did the best I could. As you can see, it's not exactly the best wall in the world. That's about a 2-inch hole in the mortar. It's so well built. So this is the little baseboard we're going to be working with down here. It's very, very simple construction. 9mm, actually I think it might be 12mm ply top, with some 12mm whitewood spruce side frames and stretchers in the middle, joined together in the middle by bolts. These are some bolt holes from a pre-existing layout because these baseboards are reused. This is actually the baseboards from my 1980s era railway that I used to have. So these were the storage yard boards that I used to use. They're in perfect nick, so I thought I'll just reuse them for this layout. And then they're sitting on a very simple softwood subframe, which is bolted to the wall. I don't know if you'll be able to see if it's light enough under there, but you can see it is bolted to the wall. There are no legs on this back section. It is just bolted in place or screwed to the wall. And then there are one of the bolts, or there is, I should say, one of the bolts that holds the boards together. So the top and this bit are entirely separate to keep things nice and portable. So if I wanted to, I could unbolt the boards, take the layout down from the loft, work on it somewhere else, bring it back up, slap it in place, and Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt, we can get on with it. At least that's the theory. So moving on top of the boards, you can see that there is nothing on here. There's cork from the pre-existing layout, and a couple of holes where point motors used to go through the boards there to drive the points and stuff. So this end in the dark corner is going to be an off-scene storage area. There will be at least one track in the centre of this board. It might end up being more than one track in a sort of traverser cassette type scenario. I haven't decided just yet. So there might be, you know, a couple tracks here that can slide around and line up with the main running line that comes on scene. There will be a scenic break here where this board joint is, roughly in line with this beam here. So you won't see any of that. There'll be a road bridge going over it to separate everything, and then the branch line will come out somewhere over this side, snake along, go through a little station, past the cottage, over a road bridge, and then straight across the join for the reinforcing rail joiner, track joiner things I've got from Model Tech, and then a straight run, camera focus, thank you, and then into a tunnel at the end, which will be about where this spirit level is, for argument's sake. It'll be somewhere there. So it'll come out straight, go across the bore joint, and then immediately start on a very gentle kind of S-curve on this board, and then run straight at some point to go through the back scene, under the road bridge, and across the bore joint into the storage section. The station will be about here somewhere. You've seen the track plan, you know what it is. So these white boards here are eventually going to be making up the back scene for this little layout. I need to source something for that end for the back scene, and also something for that end for the back scene, but I know roughly what I'm going to use for that. I just need to get hold of it. These are actually just kind of leftover of these boards. I haven't finished, as you can see. Ooh, maybe you can't see. There we go. I haven't finished. And these were just some offcuts. This entire project is based around the idea of offcuts kind of thing. Stuff that I already had lying around. The only things that I have bought, the only things that I have purchased specifically for this layout is the control system and the little power supply that it needs. So the control system and a couple of bolts. In fact, 2 bolts. That's it. That's all the money I've spent on the actual layout. All of the timber that the layout sits on, I already had. I had the baseballs from a previous layout. I technically already had the back scenes. Because they're this stuff, left over from this white hardboard stuff. And, of course, I had all the track bits and pieces as well. Now, I did have to buy electrical stuff. I had to buy some new electrical wiring and a soldering iron, stuff like that. I do have those already, so I'm not counting those towards the layout budget. I just couldn't find them in my storage unit. Whoops. So that is not a cost of the layout itself. Now, it might not be obvious on camera, but this is quite low down. It's about 2 and a bit foot off the floor. Because there will be a bigger layout on top here, in line with the bottom of this this beam here. There's a pen mark on the wall just there for where it will come out to. It will go this way, 2 foot wide, covering this entire layout, and coming along down here. And that layout will be called Storford Bridge. That's a future layout project. But for now, we're concentrating on this layout down here, which will remain nameless until the end of the series, because I have a secret name for it. Ooh, spoilers. And also I need to finish the loft, because I haven't got very far. As you can see, I still need to carry on with the boarding. Okay, so hopefully this gives you some context as to how high the layout is, or how low it is, I suppose. I'm sitting on the floor. Well, no, I'm not actually. I'm sitting on a little footstool that I made, so it's quite low. But it's a comfortable height for sitting on this thing with. So I might make a couple more of these little steppy stool things to sit on to work on this layout, operated and stuff like that. Today will be a relatively simple job. We just need to get a whole load of this polystyrene sheet on the board tops. I'm using this Gorilla Wood Glue stuff. You can use any kind of foam safe glue you want, really. This is just what happened to be in the house. I've got a little knife to cut the foam to size. Hopefully I have enough foam. I might not, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So here is one of the foam sheet board type things. They are, I think, if I remember rightly, 25mm thick, if I remember rightly. And I think Amazon, I want to say. So we're going to get them all out, lay them all on the boards first to make sure we've got enough. So obviously they're going to need to be sliced to width as well. I don't think we're going to have enough today, but I'll lay them on the board, reposition on camera, and then we can have a look. Okay, camera is repositioned. Let's clear some things off. Please excuse my pyjamas. I wanted a cozy day now that I'm not going to be ferreting around with my head in the rafters quite as much as I have been. So there's 3 of these foam boards there. So that's enough for 2 boards, so we should have enough. We will have to use the offcuts and scrappy leftover bits potentially to make the full length, but there we go, something like that. Now, I realise that a 25mm embankment is quite short, it's quite low, and we need a bridge, we need a road to go underneath the railway. So I think what I might do is grab a piece of track. In fact, why don't I do that now? Grab a piece of track from over here and measure how wide it is on this piece of foam here. Can you see what I'm doing? I can crop in. Right, so where's my little stool? Oh, nearly fell over then. Oh, there we go. So something, because the first board is going to be almost entirely straight track wise. So what I can do is basically cut the foam in a straight line, double up the height of it, glue it in place for how long it's going to be straight for. And then I can use the offcuts of that, whichever board I end up using, to make the rest of the track bed, because I don't think, I've got splinters in my pyjamas already, I don't think that I want the ground underneath the railway to be below the railway, if that makes any sense. I.e., I don't want to carve into the land that the railway sits above, kind of thing. So if the railway is up here on an embankment, the ground down here, I don't want to cut and carve into that. I want that to be flat and solid. The only elevation I really want is the railway, the tunnel, and the road bridge. Not quite sure how I'll be able to do that, but I'm sure I can work something out. It's the same thickness as the foam. So there's a baseboard joint here. So either side of the baseboard joint, there will be a little piece of wood, not a big bit, just enough, wide enough for the track. So I'll probably end up doing it this way, over the joint like that, something similar to that. But for argument's sake, let's just put this here. You can see that it's basically dead level with the surface of these bits of foam. I'll get a crop in on this so you can see. It's basically the same height. There might be 0.5 millimeters difference or so, but once the track is on it and the cork is on there and everything's tightly glued in place, there shouldn't be much undulation. And even if there is, that would be at least somewhat realistic, to have a little bit of subtle bumpiness to the track, because no track is ever flat, straight and perfect. I'm going to use this board here, or this batten, to get the correct width roughly for the track to go on. So let's just slice this up. So you can cut this, because this is just expanded polystyrene. You can cut this with a hot wire knife if you want, which I do have, but like everything else of mine that is a tool, I can't find it. This is buried somewhere in my storage locker and I just don't know where. And I do not have the lifespan to muck about looking for it. There we go. So the profile's not exactly straight. It's a bit wonky down the bottom, but that doesn't really matter. So let's get our piece of track and just test that. Oh yeah, that looks fine. That's looking fine. Wonderful news. So, I think I decided I needed 2 of these, didn't I, if I remember rightly? Yes, so we'll cut another one using the same batten to get the width right. So let's cut this. Now, of course, if we were using plywood as the embankment surface, we could use strips of cardboard stapled to the top of the embankment that would then run down to the bottom of the embankment, stapled at each end, and make like a weave lattice work of cardboard and then plaster cloth over that. I've done that method before. It's very effective and it's very, very easy to do. So we're going to need another 2 of those. Okay, so that should, in theory, be it for the first bit. So not forgetting that we need to cut a piece of timber for this end here. We need to cut 2 bits of timber, in fact, one on top of the other. So I'm thinking somewhere like that. It'll go across the board joint. So that one will go on here. And that's our final embankment height. And this piece will go on top like that. And then here will be where the piece of timber goes. Now I will cut these bits of timber off camera because we only need 4. No, 1, 2, 3, 4. We need 8 pieces, my mistake. I'll cut this off camera because it's really noisy, it's messy, and it won't be much fun to see or listen to. So that only took a couple minutes, but here we go. We have our eight blocks. I miscut and only made 7. I'm clever. So now I have all 8 that we need. They're just sort of roughly cut to size to start with, like a guesswork. And then the first one I cut became the blueprint. And from there, I just kind of followed the same pattern, really. So we'll be gluing these in. I was going to screw them in, but I think wood glue should be more than enough to hold these in. It's literally going to have track on top of it, and that will be it. The track will be nailed to it, so I don't think it's really going to go anywhere. Wood glue is pretty strong anyway, so I'm hoping that will be enough. I can add some nice weight to it to keep them in place. So the boards are already aligned anyway. Now I can see that there's a bit of a lump there, which will not fly. There is a bit of a gap here. Now I can probably sand that out once the other one is on top of it, if I absolutely desperately need to. Get them in first, get them in and down on the board first, and then we can sort out the fine tuning and the adjusting and everything after the fact. I think this bottle is blocked up again. I don't have a brush. Oh, guess I'm going to use my finger then and just kind of smudge it round. It doesn't have to be perfect. Ideally you don't want too much near the joint, because you don't want to glue it to the wrong board. Right. So my hair is going to be in the way of this, I expect. I apologise. So I just need to make sure that we get a nice bond with the board. It's looking all right, really. Let's get these embankment pieces put in place, shall we? I'll start from this end, so I can always cut the other end off, that's no problem. This stuff needs a really good shaking, so it seems. My God. I've never known a glue be that gooey before. I thought it had set in the bottle. Turns out it hasn't. It's just really, really, really thick and really sensitive to how it's shaken up. I'm hoping that it means it's going to be bloody good glue, as I plan to use Gorilla Glue quite a lot in these layout builds, as I've never used it before. And every time I build a railway, I like to sort of challenge myself to use tools or materials or techniques that I've not used before. In this instance, Gorilla Wood Glue, their super glue is shockingly bad. Don't waste your money on that stuff, let me tell you that for free. It is so bad. It really does set in the bottle, the super glue. It's shocking. Now I've got lots of wood up here. I've got lots of books and stuff that I can use to weigh all this down with, so that's not a problem. Oh yeah, that really goes on well now. Okay. And that is the first layer, or the foundation layer I should say, of our railway embankment. Wonderful news. Now of course I'm going to need to weigh it down, but I need to put the other components on first, i.e. the upper layer of the embankment. Can you see that? I believe you can. Make sure that it's in line with the edge of the first one. Doesn't need to be absolutely perfect, because the boards will align themselves. Oh. How long have I had this bottle for? 11 minutes. Top quality stuff from Lidl. Maybe don't buy these bottles from Lidl. Maybe buy them from literally anywhere else. Yes, it doesn't really matter if these aren't exactly in alignment, because you can, or rather we're going to be using track alignment as well as the boards to align the boards. Make sure that's as in line as it can be. I might use a bit more glue on that. Yes, I think I will. And there we go. Now of course, as this is just polystyrene, you can sand it really easily. If it's not completely level and flat and looking nice, you can sand it. I wouldn't do it too aggressively, because you might run out of foam to sand. It doesn't take much to completely sand this stuff away. But there we have it. That's the first piece of embankment work done. I need to weigh this down with stuff. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to use just yet, because it's very narrow, but I'm sure I can work something out. And then I will crack on with the rest of it off camera, and we'll see how we get on. Now, I don't know exactly what method I'm going to use because the rest of the embankment is not going to be in a straight line. Okay, so time has progressed a little bit. You can see all of the embankments are now in and drying, including the little sort of weird S-bend shape. What I ended up doing, I'll put some photos here, I separated the boards so I could put the wooden blocks in at each end and make sure that the boards didn't accidentally glue themselves together. And then I laid the remaining foam sheets just on the boards, on the surface, put the track roughly where I wanted it to be, in between the wooden blocks that I'd added beforehand. Kind of lined it up by eye, roughly drew it out, cut it out, and now it's gluing down. It's just being weighed down by bits of board that will be making up the framework of the bigger layout. So I can't really do much more past this point. The glue needs to set, and it might take a couple of days because it's pretty cold in the weather forecast for the next couple of days, so it might take a while. But in the next video, hopefully we can start laying some track. We'll need to work out where the platform goes, and we'll need to cut some foam out of the scraps and leftovers here to give the platform somewhere to sit, obviously. And we'll need to do the same thing for the tunnel at this end as well. Roughly marked out where those two blocks are. It'll be somewhere in that area. It might be further back. I don't quite know just yet. But for now, that is about all I can do. I should not have used permanent marker for that. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you'll join me in the next video. Thanks for watching, and happy modelling.